Hello guys, we are live for Carnivore Team GB segment number 11, nearly 3 months in. We're still producing very helpful content for all of your UK or Team GB Carnivore questions. If you do have any questions for us tonight, guys, please leave them with a Q at the beginning of them so I can easily spot them. Failing that, someone else will also be able to find them if I can't see them. So it's great to be here again tonight, and I just thought I'd ask Phil and Ben perhaps just to recap a little bit over what happened over the weekend with their big event.
Cool. Do you want to go you first, Ben? You go first.
No, you go first.
No, you go first. I insist.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It went really, really smoothly, actually. It was great. The only exception trying to get Natasha Campbell-McBride on Zoom, where we had some tech difficulties because it was on a Windows PC that needed, obviously, turning off and on again before it would work. But other than that, just, good talks, some laughs. But most of all, just wonderful people turning up. So I think we had 3 or 4 come via these shows, which is wonderful to see. And we came back so excited. We're going to start planning another one maybe as early as April. Sorry, no, Easter, which is the end of March this year. It's only about 10 minutes away. But yeah, great. What were your highlights, Phil?
I just or pretty much almost filling that room at such short notice, and just great to meet so many people that you've kind of seen on social media or whatever, and coming up and introducing themselves, and it was a load of fun. I mean, everybody was great. Yeah, Natasha was a proper star. It was she was really funny. Some of the stuff she came out with at the end. And of course, vegans, yes, the first thing that goes is the sense of humor, she said. That was brilliant. And then Sarah Pugh just messaged me and said she's still chuckling about Natasha talking about vegans going into a trance and eating whole chickens. the ancestral desires just take over. And they don't even know they've done it, and it's marvelous. Yeah, there was some great things, and Doc Malik was great value for money, wasn't he? He was wonderful. He's such a character. But yeah, just a great venue. Everything worked out. We had a bacon Nazi at breakfast who wouldn't give us enough to eat, but apart from that, the food was great. The meal before we went, before on the Friday night, the pre-event meal was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Herbert's here. Yeah, we'll come to your question, Herbert. Yeah, it's okay, cool. But yeah, it was a wonderful event, and so hopefully these guys will be able to come along to the next one at Easter, and hopefully a load of you will as well. Don't miss it because it's funny, and the venue is really great. It's in a beautiful place, and it's great. And we'll all be able to stay in the same place pretty much then, because it's weird, isn't it? Because Cliff College, where we held it, they put their Easter or whatever, their Easter accommodation and things on their website for 2025 and 2026. But for some reason, they didn't put 2024 on. So we took that as an omen, and we'll be able to book out the whole place. It was incredible, really, incredible bit of luck. So yeah, come along to the next one. Follow us on all our channels. I'm sure we'll announce it. And yeah, just got a message from Sarah Pugh minutes ago to say that she's coming back again. And yeah, it's going to be brilliant. Richard's speaking. Going to have to talk to these other 2 guys. So I tell you what, we'll definitely do is a big Q&A panel. Get everybody together for a long time on the second afternoon. Going to do a 2-day one, and you can meet everybody. Be brilliant.
Yeah, that sounds like a good lot of fun, to be honest. Kind of like the similar experience we had in Sheffield, but a bit more personal. Like everyone in it will be from around here. Chances I'm probably one of us 5 that is in the south of England at least. So the true sort of south, you might call it. So yeah, it'd be nice to meet other people. But
yeah,
what I'm looking forward to is the next one.
There's no actual there's actual food. There won't be a bucket full of quinoa like in Sheffield. So people
no lettuce.
Can actually eat as well.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
It was pig swill. That's what it was.
It was. They definitely fell down on that part, didn't they? I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
fortunately,
I'm surprised Sean Baker didn't get hangry and start swinging at people because you can't feed Sean quinoa, can you?
He does not complain about much. Honestly, you can tell he's from like the military or something. Like he was wearing the same top for about 3 days straight. No one sort of turned around to say, "Oh, do you want one of my friend's tops that happens to be 3XL?" You know, he's walking around the same sweaty top for 3 days. So I offered him my top, and by that point, someone gave him one. But he didn't complain one bit. He didn't complain about the food. He just got on with it, and he thought, "Well, tonight I might be spending, $100 worth of his hard-earned money on, free ribeye steaks in a restaurant, but what have you." So that's pretty cool to see.
We've got to specify Sean's not a dirty boy. They lost his luggage, right?
That's right. Yeah, it wasn't his fault. He doesn't just bring one lot of clothing for the week or whatever. Yeah, that'll be a good time if it is around sort of March time. I won't be absolutely shredded then, so I'll be able to attend and feel relatively good and normal. I'm sure Richard knows what I'm talking about. You don't really sit down on seats for very long when you're 4% body fat. It's not very fun.
So you won't look like you've been sewn together from a bunch of donkey dicks.
Pretty much. I won't have onion thin, condom thin skin, no. I'll look pretty normal probably at that point.
Somebody put that comment up. I thought that was a veiled compliment about Richard on my podcast with him. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, nice. It seems like we've got no questions apart from this one then. I'm just about interrogating Sarah for minerals. I actually interviewed her earlier today. We had a really good chat about quantum physics, quantum biology, and how it relates to fitness, body composition, and health. So that was really informative, and I actually think I learned quite a bit. So have you guys interviewed her at all? Maybe we could get her on here at some point.
What did you learn, Jonathan? Sorry.
Yeah.
So I learned a little bit more about the cold exposure. I was a bit on the fence about it, but I think it could be more useful than what I apparently thought initially. Anyway, the other thing I learned a lot about was like the blue light in the gym. I did actually notice I train a bit better when I'm not absolutely caned with loads of blue light. That's not to say, use blue blockers in the gym. I tried that. My cortisol was too low. My heart rate was really low and I didn't feel edgy like I was up to training. So it tells me there's a fine balance between being overstimulated with blue light and understimulated. And that kind of validates my experience at that point in time when I tried it out. But yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. But that was the main thing.
Bruce advocates for training outside.
Yeah. If you got a gym outside, even better.
In sunlight, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you see people in the gym, on the treadmills, jogging along. They're never happy, but you can see people outside having fun with their family, a bit of sun on their skin. It's much more pleasant, so I get behind it.
So why were you
Sarah really practices what she preaches. She turned up in one of those Bond Charge EMF proof hoodies, looking like Arrow, if anybody remembers that superhero. And even the light coming in the door in her room, she told me that she'd been wrestling with the wardrobe to push it up in front of the door to go and to get the light out, And she's absolutely the real deal. Yeah, she's great, so knowledgeable.
Stephen's trying to talk, I think.
Sorry, Stephen, go ahead.
That's all right. I was just interested because, Jonathan, you sounded like you were skeptical about cold water therapy. Does that mean now you're not skeptical?
I think in the right exposure to the right amount and in adequate reason, I think it's useful. Now more in this, that's pretty much where I'm now. But before I thought, for most people, probably not. I think the issue is that people live high stress lives and they try to overcomplicate things and do loads of extra stuff, Like I've got some people, some ladies that I work with, they're, working full-time jobs, got children, training 5 times a week, trying to do cardio, trying to do sprinting, CrossFit, all this extra stuff. And I'm just like, you're doing too much. Just pick a few things you enjoy and use those little hacks and don't worry about the extra stuff. But now I can see how it would all fit together just by reducing the overall chronic exposure of these things. So I can understand that completely.
Yeah, and imagine for you, I mean, in particular, because you had the lower back thing, and I might have benefited from this about 30 years ago before I knew about this way of eating. It's very good at reducing inflammation. Our local Premier League football team where I live, not the one I support, by the way, when they won the Premiership, which was Leicester City, a lot of them a lot of the sports scientists there were putting it down to the cold showers that they were all doing. I mean, the mega cold showers after the match, because I know it sounds like a really crazy reason to win the Premier League, but they put it down to lack of injuries. So their first team was constantly turning up, and consistency is good. And I'm quite surprised it's not more prevalent in like the Premier League. I was quite surprised, and this was about 5 years ago. And I thought, oh, cold therapy, I would have thought would be much more prominent there. I mean, if a player's injured, they wrap the knee up in ice straight away. But I'm surprised you're sceptical, because it seems sensible to me that if you're cold, your body's not using ATP to move you, but to warm you up. So your brown fat activation is there. And I know Phil was a big fan of it as well. So, yeah, I mean, I tried it, by the way, and I think you're right. If you do too many things, it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. But I tried it when I wasn't doing other things. But I was doing cold showers because at the time we didn't have a bath. So we moved to this house where there's a bath, and I've been a bit of a coward, and I still haven't had a really cold bath yet. But I do think, especially now as it's freezing where we are, like -6 or something. So, yeah, so I've just seen there's a couple of questions, so I'll shut my gob now. But I was really interested in that, Jonathan.
Yeah, we could probably discuss it if we get some time at the end. The thing is, with like sports people, is they have a lot of access to things that people like us don't. There's a lot of new research, different peptides, hormones, therapies that we don't currently use. So they biohack with other stuff. But it'd be interesting to see if they all added in these things, across the board in different sports, to see how much of a intervention, or how useful that intervention would be. So I'm definitely interested to see if that comes to fruition. We've got some questions anyway, so I'll answer some questions. It's a Q&A. And the question is, first one. Carson has asked, hello gentlemen, do you think fed beef has omega-3s? Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, so yeah, this is one for me. So, Carsten, I don't know where you are in the world. I assume if you're asking, it might be in North America. Most of the beef over here is mainly grass-fed, grass-finished as well. But in the US, the animal will spend the first few months of its life on pasture, where it will get it'll build up a good kind of 2-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which is fairly natural. But the problem then is when they are moved into feedlots and then fed on grains, the omega-3 content will start to diminish, and the ratio will actually switch. So I've got if I can share my screen. Does this come? Let me know if this comes through, guys. No.
If you post, if it's a link to something on Google, post it in the private chat and I'll chuck it up.
Okay, it's okay.
Well, there it is.
There we go.
That's it.
Okay, so yeah, there's a PDF here from Pasture for Life, and this graph shows. So when they immediately move on to off pasture onto kind of grains, then the percentage of DHA and alpha linolenic acid are around the 1% mark, and EPA is naturally lower anyway. But you can see that after only 2 months taken off the grass, the DHA and whatever is halved, and after basically 4 months, it's pretty much non-existent. So that's the issue with that. So that's the percentage of omega-3s. The ratio changes a bit differently as well. So yeah, that's the. So I mean, like Sean Baker says, doesn't he, that even grain finished beef is still preferable to seed oils or anything ultra processed. So it's not that it's bad, it's just less ideal. So I think if the only beef that you can get or you can afford is grain finished, then I would probably want to supplement with some small oily fish like sardines or mackerel.
Yeah, there would also then be the argument that higher linoleic acid isn't going to act the same way in the body unless it becomes oxidized, which means if the meat is fresh, then arguably that high omega-6 intake to, or omega-6 ratio to omega-3s is negligible. So it's a lot of contributing factors, but even grain-fed beef is going to be way better for you than eating a standard lifestyle, isn't it? If that's all you have access to, then preference that. But we are lucky in the UK. Everything is grass-fed. You know, the cattle's outside grazing, you know, almost 365 days a year. Local farmers I've spoken with only pull cattle in when there's no grass to graze on, i.e. frost-covered, you know, fields. But we are lucky, really lucky in that respect, I think, in the UK.
Nice one. Yeah, I agree. We've done pretty well over here, I think. We've got a question as well from Herbert somewhere. Was it this one?
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's just asking if you interrogated Sarah for the minerals.
I think this might be, because everybody comes up with a different name all over the place on different social media. I think this might be about remineralizing water, distilled water for minerals. And I didn't interrogate Sarah, but, well, I kind of did, but then she didn't reply to that one. But somebody sent me Sarah's cheat sheet, or crib sheet as it's called, for remineralizing water. And there's a lot of stuff on there. So I don't know how I can possibly share screen and show that one. But I really want to know Richard's take on this, because I can always share that another time. But this is really quite sort of intricate, this one. So I don't know. But it's the minerals crib sheet, what to take in a day, with our friend's notes on it. So I don't know how to share that. How do I share the screen, Jonathan?
There should be a button at the bottom which says present. Then it's share screen that lets you choose a tab.
Cool. Screen sharing, best on blah, blah.
It just takes a minute to come through to this, and I just press go, whatever.
Yeah, maybe Richard could address this of what do you think you do for remineralizing water, or anybody, you know, because I'm not that great on that. So I'm trying to figure this out. It's taken me through too many steps, really. So carry on. Richard, what do you reckon about remineralizing distilled water? Any ideas of what you should add back into it?
And do you know, it's something I've never looked into. Apologies while you were reeling all that off. I was just going through my my mic settings, because one of the comments said that it looked like I wasn't using the correct mic, but I think I'm back on now, hopefully.
Yeah, all good.
So apologies, I missed half of that, but it's remineralizing water. It's something I'm not familiar with. So yeah, unless you guys have got something to add.
I didn't ask her that in an interview today. I should have asked her, but you know, hindsight.
Yeah, I did, and I'm really wrestling with this. It's taking me from pop-up window to pop-up window, and it's not working.
She did say what to put in it. She said, I think it was no salt and magnesium, or low salt magnesium. So she said Celtic or Bar Yar sea salt, or salt with potassium with magnesium in it. She said you can get fancy with other things, but she said that as the main thing. She recommended making your own out of those individual ingredients. That was her take on it. That is all I really got from it. But you did actually get a super chat from Mike, which is much appreciated. Super chat for all you guys. Thanks for taking the time to do this, and more week in, week out. Excellent. I'll have to split a few, I don't know, prawns with you guys at a restaurant one day, and I'll have it out that way. Nice.
So just a thing on the sharing the screen. Listen, I'm sorry. Contact me through my website, or you know, you can see it on my channel, and I'll send you a pic of everything that Sarah puts in her minerals crib sheet. But it's just, sorry, tech is actually sending me round and round in circles at the moment. I can't share, so we'll move on. But contact me and I'll send you her whole crib sheet.
Nice one. Excellent. We'll get to the next question now anyway, guys, which is from Meattastic, and it is, I drink a fair bit of water and electrolytes. My urine is very pale, but I still feel like I want to drink. You guys often talk about not drinking too much, so am I really thirsty? That's a Richard question, I think, unless anyone else wants to dive in first.
Yeah, look, we quite often come back to not over consuming water, but your body is an incredibly intelligent machine. Quite often when you're thirsty, it's more the minerals that it's lacking than the water. Just drink to thirst. If you feel like you're thirsty, just drink some more. As far as the color of the urine goes, I wouldn't be overly concerned. Coach Stevens is the expert on urine color. Something he's covered many times. But look, if you're thirsty, drink. If you're not, don't drink. I only drink when I'm thirsty. I don't actively force water down. I carry a container of water, an aluminium flask. Is it aluminium? But I carry that with me. I fill that up with water. I add the electrolytes to it because I find water incredibly boring, and I'm replacing quality electrolytes with it. But it's I don't chase any numbers. I don't chase 2 liters or 3 liters or 4 liters. And to be honest, I couldn't tell you how much I drink in a day because it doesn't really matter to me. I drink when I'm thirsty and I don't when I'm not. Nice and simple.
It's almost like your body has a signal to tell you what to do when you need to do it, so you don't die or get thirsty or drink too much.
Yeah.
Clever, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's astonishing, isn't it, that the body works that way?
Yeah, I'm just going to address a quick question I got. I'll be very succinct. It was linked to Mike's super chat. So I hope the competition perhaps going well. When do you start your cutting phase? I started a mini cut about a week and a half ago. I've lost 3 kilograms. I'm significantly leaner than I was maybe 2 weeks ago. A lot less inflamed. You can probably see it in my face a little bit. You'll see my face go right in within about the next 12 weeks. And yeah, I'm not doing any deliberate cardio. I'm not doing any extra special training. The same training. I'm just mostly using diet as a lever at the moment. My fat intake's gone down by about a third, which is typical for me when I do a mini cut. Not something I'd do long term in a long fat loss or cutting sort of phase. So yeah, it's going well so far, and I'll try and keep the YouTube channel page, community tab, updated with my progress pictures every week, perhaps on a Friday or on the weekend perhaps. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Our next question is just Vitalai just asking quickly about the raw electrolytes, meaning I think unflavored maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah, spot on. So I'm looking to get those in production at the end of the first quarter. These products are incredibly expensive to produce. And within our community, it seems like something that would do very well. Again, all natural ingredients, quality electrolytes. There's no flavors. So it is a pure carnivore product, but it still contains astaxanthin, which is a compound that very few people on the planet have got the rights to use, me being one of them. It's a natural compound, which is 550 times more potent than vitamin E as an antioxidant, 800 times stronger than coenzyme Q10, 65 times stronger than vitamin C, clinically proven to improve athletic performance and lots of other health outcomes. And interestingly, astaxanthin is a compound that I believe to be one, or if not the only, true antioxidant from a plant, from an animal source that actually exists. We look at plants as containing antioxidants, but they don't. They contain pro-oxidants which all overactivate the NRF2 pathway, which is something we've covered previously many times. But overactivation it stimulates the same pathways that tobacco smoke, mercury, lead, arsenic, all these sorts of things will do. And what it does is scientists are measuring the elevation in glutathione, which is actually conjugating to this toxin to excrete it from the body. But they're seeing this elevation of glutathione, which is signaling an antioxidant effect, but it's actually doing so to excrete the toxin. So when we look at plants as antioxidants, if we are to believe that they carry an antioxidant benefit, then we must also resign to the fact that lead, mercury, arsenic, and all these compounds confer a benefit because it activates the same pathway. But this compound And we know they don't. So, you know, it is as simple as that. But this compound astaxanthin, it's the only known antioxidant which first does not begin its journey as a pro-oxidant. But incredible, you know, product, the electrolytes. It's taken me an awful long time. They're incredibly expensive, and I need to know that there's a market for them. I can't afford to be lumbered with tens of thousands of pounds worth of product that I can't sell. Everybody within our community says that they'll buy them. And if they do, then fantastic. We've got a winning product. If they don't, then I'm in trouble, which is serious trouble. Which is why I've been hesitant. You know, cash flow for me is a major problem. But it's these are an incredible compound. But the issue is because they're unflavored, it just tastes of salt water, strong salt water with almost a fishy type of taste, because that's where the astaxanthin comes from. It's what gives salmon the pink color. So yeah, I hope I've listened to your thoughts. You know, we've put it forward. I use them. I've still got samples from the production we use for sampling. It doesn't bother me because I live, you know, a fairly strict carnivore lifestyle. I just hope that that response is elicited by the fellow consumers, as it were. Otherwise, as I say, I'll be closing up shop.
Yeah. So please note, buy his stuff. It's very good.
Wait for them to come out, and at least try them once. But yeah, I'm hoping by the end of the first quarter they'll be out there, and a fantastic addition if you are lacking electrolytes within the carnivore lifestyle. But look, you know, we've covered this. Stephen and I covered this copious amounts of times. You don't need, or some people don't need extra electrolytes. You can obtain electrolytes, sufficient electrolytes from the diet. There's hundreds or thousands of carnivores who don't need a supplement with salts and electrolytes, and they're thriving. I'm not one of those people. I can't say, despite consuming the cartilage and the stringy bits and really, you know, the bone broth and all this, you know, marrow from the bones, which is where all the collagen and electrolytes lies, which very few of us do. You know, I still find that I thrive off using them. But, you know, if you need them, they're there. If you don't, even better.
Excellent. The next question relates to two questions that I've already got off him on consecutive weeks. Basically, my suggestion to this gentleman was to do either a food increase for about a week or decrease food for about a week and see what happens. I'm not sure why he hasn't done that yet, but he's asked the question again for us to then give the same answer, the same question he's already asked us twice. So we can answer it if you want, or we can move on. It's up to you guys. If anyone's got any sort of thoughts on this question about, you know, basically he's plateaued. He's been carnivore for about 9 weeks. He's not sure if to do something different with his diet, whether or not it's a good time to change something or not in regards to his macronutrient intake or anything around that.
Yeah, look, you know, just to reiterate a couple of the points you've just made, you know, you could try upping the protein, reducing the fat, and vice versa. Sometimes I find that an increase in fat initially adds a couple of K of weight as we fill the intracellular myelipids, but beyond that, you're stimulating your body to upregulate all of these pathways, and then weight loss pursues. The fat is the biggest lever, and I find alternating days, i.e. having high protein, low fat for 2 days, and then having the fat refeed on day 3, that seems to work really well with me when cutting. And I do go further than the 2 days when cutting. But it's really important to put that fat in for the production of all the hormones and everything else that we need within the body. This is why we feel, we feel at the rubbish. What a better term, isn't it? When you get down to 2, 3, 4% body fat, the brain needs fat. So listen to your body, but that's another lever you can pull. So maybe just experiment with protein and fat macros, but reducing the fat on different days.
Yes, key point: do something. Don't leave it 2 weeks and not do anything.
Do something.
We can't help you unless you do something. Then we can feed back to us, oh, it didn't work or it did work. Then we can adjust from there.
Really, this is going to sound well out there from the left field in regards to what we do, but I've had clients who have even put a few carb back in, i.e. from white rice, which is lectin free. Not a great deal, but only for 1 or 2 days. And this has stimulated further fat loss. if you don't want to put carb in, that's fine. I'm not a lover of carb, but if you are going to experiment with carb loading and carb refeeds, etc., or just stimulating, the digestive system and all these other things, then white rice is my preference, as it's lectin free. You're not getting this lectin, the carbohydrate binding lectin effect of to the insulin receptor. It's going to cause way less issues, and it's far cleaner than most carbohydrate sources on the planet. At least I believe it to be.
Richard, is that the same principle as carb cycling?
So, well, funny enough, I spoke with Alan Reeves today. He'd be a fantastic guy to get on. He's recently won a big comp over in Sweden. 3 times he's competed, 3 times he's become champion. An incredible physique. He's 51, or soon to be 51, and he's in the best shape you've ever seen, ripped and shredded. He carb cycles weekly using white rice particularly. He's still partial to a little bit of honey. But he does it for a number of reasons. He believes that it keeps his insulin sensitivity high. I'm not a big believer in that. I believe that we're still insulin sensitive whether we're consuming the rice or not, but he finds that it helps train in the gym, helps with recovery. It doesn't work for me. And we had this conversation today. Whenever I put carb in, it does nothing for me as far as athletic performance goes. In fact, it does quite the opposite. If I put carb in and jump on the bike, I can't breathe. I feel like I've got a hand over my mouth. I ache. But white rice is the cleanest version, at least I believe, to put in regards to aesthetic purposes. If you're looking to fill glyco stores, it's going to make you a lot bigger. I would gain 17 pounds in a week between doing a fat refeed and a glyco refeed. So I do a fat refeed first over 2 days. So keep my protein the same, incredibly high fats from like saturated fat sources, avoiding omega-3s and MCTs because they don't store as well in the body. And then drop in my fat, go into lean protein and consuming high quantities of white rice. You're talking anywhere up to 900 grams per day for 3 days. I would maintain a ketogenic state for 2 days. In fact, only on the 3rd day would I come out. That's how adapted I am. Day after comp, I'd be back in again. I wasn't doing it for health purposes. I wasn't doing it for any other reason other than to add a lot of mass to my body. Because when you're incredibly lean, ripped and shredded, 17 pound on your frame, you look vacuum packed, veins bulging everywhere, your skin's transparent, and it just magically transforms your physique. So I would use it as a tool. It works for Alan as a tool for training and performance. Other athletes, Zach Bitter implements carbs with his athlete, yet they're predominantly ketogenic or carnivore. It doesn't work for me, but that's what he does is the carb cycling. So maybe once or twice a week, he will put 100 to 200 grams of carbs in here and there. But it's one of those levers that doesn't work for me. So again, it's something else to try. But I did notice that when I was cutting for comp, if I put carb in while I was cutting, for the first day, it would elicit a weight loss. So as silly as that sounds, I think that insulin response just seems to soak everything up. It pulls everything into the muscle. And you may find that you will even be lighter after day 1 of a small carb refeed, which sounds bizarre, but it's another lever to pull. But I'd leave that to last. The levers to pull initially are the protein and fats.
Richard, I understand also though for those deficient in arsenic, maybe white rice is a good source for that. Do you have anything to say about that one?
Yeah, look, you could get arsenic from lots of other things as well, isn't it? But it's, I don't, if you're going to put carb in, I believe that in terms of intestinal permeability and what you want to get out of that carb refeed, that white rice is going to be one of the cleanest. Others opt for honey. Honey doesn't work for me. Most things from fruit and honey sources, the first thing they fill is the liver glyco, and that's generally not what we're trying to do. So if you're trying to fill muscle glyco, then it might even be pertinent to eat some fruit first to fill muscle glyco, so then the remaining carb that you consume fills muscle glyco over liver. But I used to get a response in my mouth. My tongue would go numb, even from the cleaner sort of honey sources. So honey doesn't work for me. Fruit generally doesn't work for me. The only thing that I don't get a negative reaction from is the white rice. But and I suffer with severe intestinal permeability. You know, if I eat the wrong compound, I explode in spots. You know, and coming back to a point we made recently, I ate something that I shouldn't, milk or drunk even, and I exploded in spots. I had a massive spot on my face and a couple on my back. And that's how sensitive I am to compounds, you know, even when it comes down to A2 milks. But white rice, it doesn't seem to cause any issues, but I still preference not to consume it. I don't think that that's the first lever to pull.
It's funny, isn't it? Even in my old TM days, Transcendental Meditation, and the sort of guru at the top was called Maharishi. And he used to say, it was back in the day where everybody said, oh, you have to eat brown rice because it's much more healthy. You know, and even he said, brown rice is for horses and hippies. And so, you know, eat the basmati or whatever, eat the white rice. Yeah.
Right, we've addressed this question 3 times now, guys. Should we move on?
No, I want to talk about rice all evening.
I don't like rice. It makes me fat. No, I'd go the same route as Richard. If I was to do any carbs, personally, it'd be white rice, probably drenched about 6, 7, 8 times over, you know, with water, cooked, steamed, what have you. Jasmine rice, probably a bit better. I don't know. That's about it. I don't know.
Look, one
I wouldn't do
thing
honey.
about this, if anybody's watching who's autoimmune, don't eat that stuff, right? Heal up before you start messing about with any of this stuff. But I do take it that you know, when the kids do want some carbs and the missus cooks some white rice, I'm not asked about it. I do understand that it's it's not going to break you when you're healthy. But if you're autoimmune, kids, don't eat that stuff. That's all.
Right, we'll get to the next question, which is from Herbert, which is, does dry grass count? I think he just means hay, in terms of like an animal being grass-fed.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah. So yeah, quite often, like in this country, in the wintertime, they might bring livestock indoors and feed them on traditionally hay, but you've also got haylage and silage, which are like basically where they cut the grass and then they wrap it in plastic and it ferments for a while. That's perfectly good as well. Yeah. So yes.
Nice one. Cheers. I have heard that beef brain pork is full of omega-3. Is that true? Yeah, brain has a lot of omega-3 in it. Probably one of the richer sources we can get, I imagine. Probably only behind, I don't know, oily fish, caviar. Are there any sources of omega-3 that have more omega-3 in it than brain, perhaps? I don't know. Do you guys have a take on it?
Sardines and mackerel. Sorry, Steve, go on.
That's okay. Go, Rich.
Oh, no, go on.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, beef brain is a good source of omega-3s, especially DHA and EPA. But more importantly, it's got the brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is the thing that helps your brain's plasticity, which is easy to say. And it's also got folate. So I actually think it's a really good source of B vitamins. So you've got B9 folate, and you've got B12 in there, and B5. You've got BDNF, and you've got EPA, DHA. So it is really good. It's just difficult to get. And I think in some places it's outlawed as well. You can't actually buy beef brain, which is a bit frustrating because it is a really good source of so many different nutrients. And then, of course, you haven't got the problem, and I agree with Rich there about, sardines. I had sardines yesterday and mackerel today and ate all the bones and loved it and all that. But, if I could get beef brain, I would definitely try it. The thing is with beef, we had neck the other day, which is something they throw out. Once I'd eaten it, I know why. Because it was absolutely disgusting. So that's the other thing about beef brain. It is... you could really biohack all your life, but if you're having a miserable time eating it, that's not going to help you the other way. But there's lots of good stuff in beef brain. I'm not quite sure why the question had in brackets pork, but anyway.
If you to get beef brain, because they've sort of misrepresented exactly what all these ailments were in animals and caused them themselves, and let's not get down that tinfoil rabbit hole. But if you go to sort of Indian butchers, like Indian shops that do the meat and or whatever in England, we've managed to get loads of them. To be honest, you can sort of get them like, you know, wrapped in brown paper and under the counter and whatever. But you can get them, and we've actually got a whole load of brains in the freezer at the moment. You can get them if you sort of maybe go to some halal places, and they might not have them right now, but if you sort of talk to them and whisper around the back and whatever, you can get these. But it's absolutely ridiculous. It's amazing nutrition, and it's nonsense that they don't sell them. Just another one of the elites' methods of trying to stop us eating meat and being frightened of it. But yeah, so that's how to get hold of it. Just keep experimenting with like foreign butchers here, I think.
Yeah, it tastes a bit like scrambled egg in my opinion, like a less eggy scrambled egg in texture at least. Anyway, it's quite bland. Like I thought it'd be really meaty, tough, and horrible, but it was not horrible at all. Like you could mix it in, you know, put some sardines in it, you wouldn't really notice much difference. I thought it was alright. A question again about electrolytes. I drink a fair bit of water and electrolytes. My urine is very pale, but I still feel like I want to drink. You guys often talk about not drinking too much, so am I really thirsty? I don't know. I'd probably go by how you feel over by the colour of your urine. What do you guys think?
Is this the one we did earlier?
No, it's reworded. Sorry, it's reworded. But I mean, don't forget, in phlebotomy, you do urine testing all the time. And colour, sorry, Jonathan, I don't like to disagree publicly, but colour is really, really important as your first test. If it's clear, you are drinking too much. It really is that simple. And if it's dark, you're not drinking enough. So it is a good measure. I'm not saying it's a great measure for diagnosis, because obviously then you analyse it and you see what's in there. And urine is a fantastic tool for things like iodine. Do you really need it? Well, if people are taking drops and thinking, do I really need this? You can do an iodine clearance test. You can do a creatinine clearance test. And that's just a posh way of giving you a set amount of the substance. So iodine, 100 units of iodine. What is your urine like over 24 hours? Do you urinate out 100 units of iodine? Then you're not deficient. And it's beautiful. I mean, you know, I'm not taking the piss. Sorry. You know, it really is a great way of measuring stuff. But looking at the colour of it is really good for people at home. And if it's dark, you are definitely not drinking enough. And it isn't about drinking water. This is the thing. And, you know, when I did my private practice, the amount of urine, which literally looked like Evian, was incredible. And, you know, there was no smell there, which might sound like a good thing. But those people were drinking litres and litres of water, which they didn't need to do. And as Rich will attest, it just depletes your electrolytes, because everything goes around your body and it's normally attached to something else, like glucose. One molecule of glucose has 3 molecules of water. So when you drink, water, you're attaching it to glucose, which is why when you go low carb, you lose water weight, because you lose glucose molecules. So therefore you lose water molecules. And same with electrolytes. If you drink a load of water, those electrolytes go around surrounded in water. I mean, that's how they move around. So if you drink a lot of water and then you urinate, and the other big thing that I like to always mention is, if you're getting up in the middle of the night to pee, the biggest thing about the human body is this reparative 8 hours of sleep, and you're breaking it to urinate because you're drinking too much. So that's another thing that you should look at. But yeah, where it's saying, are you really thirsty? People do drink water out of habit. In the gym in particular, you know, do a set of bench press, take a sip of water. Were you thirsty, or was it habit? So yeah, I think you need to get back to, you know, as we all said earlier, get back to what your body does. If you're thirsty, drink, but you know, if you're not, then don't. But do unlearn those habits as well, where you're drinking because you're not thirsty, but drinking because you think you should.
Yeah, that makes good sense. I mean, you know, I've looked at my urine at different points of the day, and honestly, it's always about the same. It kind of says I'm doing the right sort of thing, because it's never too much, never too little. and I'm never significantly dehydrated. I'm never sat there, drinking loads of water. Like when I'm in the gym, I drink about 300 milliliters. Funny enough, I weighed myself before and after the gym, and that's how much I sweated out. So I lost 300 grams approximately. So that's another measure you can look at it as well. It does kind of make sense to me. But yeah, the color of the urine, I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying if it's a bit pale or quite pale or medium pale, I think everyone runs a bit differently. B vitamins can impact that. I think, is it B2? All these different things can impact the color of your urine as well. So that's cool stuff. You got a question from...
Yeah, also just one quick one on that. If you're drinking way too much water and sort of going by this craze of drinking tons of water every day, you're also filling yourself with more deuterium. It's not necessary. And so there's got to be some kind of electrolyte balance if you're still thirsty, drinking tons of water. If you're having a load of animal fats, your body will produce your mitochondria will produce deuterium depleted water, and you won't be so thirsty. So have a ton of animal fats and don't drink beyond your thirst. That's about it, really.
Nice one. All right, we're presenting something. So Stephen's got a urine color chart. There we go.
If you want to take a screenshot of that, that's a pretty good representation. So clear wouldn't even be like this. I mean, clear would literally be like water that you get from the tap, which obviously nobody here drinks, or mineral water or reverse osmosis. It would be clear, so it would be down here. As soon as you get into straw color, I mean, I would say 2 is about ideal, and then after that, it's problematic. Obviously, if it looked like 8, then you really need to go and have some other tests. But that's a really good guide, I think.
Yeah, it makes good sense to me. I probably run somewhere between about 3 and 4 of that one most of the time. It's probably about right. I don't know. Is that healthy, Stephen, or am I gonna collapse?
I'd definitely talk to you if you were 3 or 4, and ask you to come back a week later and try to drink slightly more. But I would say about electrolytes, I would definitely say, like, if you're not taking any electrolytes, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of salt every day, which is not knocking Richard's electrolytes. I'm just saying a really basic start with just a bit of salt in some salty water and see what happens. And I think you'd come back. I mean, about 90% of the people would come back and say, I actually feel hydrated. I didn't know what that meant. I don't feel so dry. And even today, I coached somebody and they were talking about their dry skin, everything basically. And I said, are you drinking the appropriate amount? Oh, I drink gallons. And I said, right, well, that's why you're dehydrated. Well, I'm not sleeping because I pee twice in the night and all this. It's like, it is really common and it is drummed into us to keep drinking and drinking water. Strangely enough, I think Sean Baker today was doing a sort of humorous bit to camera because somebody said, well, your diet must be really bad. You have to supplement with water and salt. I mean, this was a serious vegan comment, and he was saying how ridiculous that is. But actually, in the 1950s, when they did some military studies, because they wanted to make sure that the Americans, of course, got the money for this, they wanted to send their troops out into battle over 24 hours. How much water would they need to carry? And this is where the 8 glasses of water has come from, or 2.5 liters. They actually said it was about 2.5 liters. But in that same report, it said, but you don't need to take water with you because it's in the food. So, for instance, a ribeye is 70% water. And it was interesting today that Sean was saying, actually, you probably wouldn't need to drink anything because my steaks are full of water. And that goes to Phil's thing as well. You get that metabolic water. That's going to be better for you. I'm not saying, guys, don't drink at all. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying there is different ways to hydrate. And, this is when it gets a bit tricky because, you felt quite happy at 3 and 4, Jonathan, but would you feel better at 1 or 2? This is the thing. If you went to 1 or 2 in that chart, I think you report an improvement in performance and feeling, actually, personally. But you know,
I'll give it a go. I'll aim for that and see what happens. Just out of curiosity.
well, I
Yeah.
want pictures of the urine next week in a little chart.
I'll bring it up in a little bottle.
Yeah.
Well, I can't see the difference in any of them because my screen's on red. So I think anybody at any stage of that chart needs to have their checked for kidney stones because it just looks red to me.
Nice one. We got a quick question for Richard about his current exercise. Are you strength training still, or are you just cycling, Richard?
Currently, I haven't lifted a weight for months. I'd like to. I think it's important, but unfortunately, when you're self-employed and you're trying to improve on a specific sport, certain things have to go by the by, and the weight training is something that has suffered severely. Weight training is incredibly important, and I don't think we push and tell people how important weight training is or how much it can improve health and lifestyle. And I would even argue that it's probably more important than cardio. But it's not what I'm doing at the moment. I did train. The last time I trained, something I spoke to Alan Reeves about earlier, as it happens, there's I trained for first time in a long time in a vest, and I looked like a little boy, coming from this. And within 20 minutes or so, I beefed back out, nowhere near the size I was. I hadn't magically grown muscle, but I think a lot of the mass that we have is volume in muscle. And I dare say that if I began training properly on weights again, that I could get back to the shape I was in incredibly quickly. I've got an in-body composition machine, and I've been testing on that as I've been running and cycling, and my dry protein has barely moved. Now, it has come down a little, but it has not come down anywhere near as much as I was expecting, which means basically the dry protein is your muscle without any vitamins or minerals or water, which means I haven't lost an awful lot. I've still got a chest, and it's still hard. I've still got the delts. I've still got the lats. So somebody said to me recently, actually, you've gone from He-Man to Action Man. So, I feel like a little boy, but I mean, I love that look. It's just absolutely counterintuitive to running and cycling. The last thing you want is big wings when you're on a bike and an extra weight on top. My legs have got a little bit bigger since I've been cycling. I've trained legs extensively on weight training for a long time, and I'm surprised how much my legs have grown since I've been doing power on the bike. So maybe that was the missing part for me, but I need to get back to weight training. But currently, I'm not doing any. I'm hoping that as things settle now in the new year, I can get back to doing so, because I do miss it. I do miss training with the weights. And I think it is important, but currently zero training on weights.
Nice one. Yeah, that's cool. We could probably all answer this question a little bit. I wonder if any of you have had neuropathic pain decreased by carnivore or low carb. No, funnily enough, no. And I'll be someone that would know if it did. I did try it, to a good degree, when I had my spine injury. Now, what I will say is, though, I do have more inflammation when I do go off plan, and especially if that's a significant meal that's off plan. If I'm otherwise a bit here and there, a bit iffy sometimes, it's not the worst thing. I don't get that bad inflammation from it. But neuropathic pain for me, no. What about you guys? Have you had any experience with this at all?
Not neuropathic. I mean, I've had a lower back injury for 30 years from playing rugby when I was 16 at school, and my bottom vertebra is like half an inch too far forwards, and that was undiagnosed for 30 years. But actually going even high fat, low carb, I'd say 80% of the pain went away in months, and now I don't really notice it at all.
Yeah, I can attest to that as well. I used to suffer with severe back pain, lower back pain. It went significantly being ketogenic. It's almost non-existent being carnivore. I wonder how much of that was attributed to being heavier up top. But ketones block NLRP3 inflammasome, so it's going to reduce inflammation, which is going to contribute to any neuro pain. But if you are suffering, you need to remove neurotoxins. Things like even coffee is a known neurotoxin. That's probably a swear word to a lot of us who live the ketogenic carnivore lifestyle, because it almost seems a staple. I still drink coffee. I've been 3 days without it recently. I am missing it, but it confers a benefit to me. But I am conscious that when I put it in,
you said it again.
You were on the
You
live
said
when you. I'll explain that now as we go along, but a bit of a running joke. If I do drink coffee, I get pains in my legs, and I know it's neuro pain because it's the only part of the muscle that I'm not used to training to that extent. If I don't put the coffee in, it's a lot better, but so that's something I'm working through. But then the caffeine is a known ergogenic aid, and it allows you to perform better. So it's weighing up what works best for you. But if you are a sufferer, I mean, coffee is one of the things that we want to take out. But that confers a benefit was something that came up in the live with Steve and I on Sunday. Somebody said that Rich says it confers a benefit an awful lot. So the new drinking game, every time he says it, we have to take a shot. So
Take a shot of your ketones or something.
Yeah, shot of electrolyte, shot of water, pig's blood.
I guess you could always try taking like Pro Plus rather than drinking coffee if you just want the caffeine.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. When we look at coffee, we look at it as being the caffeine that's the problem. The caffeine can affect the glutamate to GABA ratio, which can lead to anxiety and depression and all these other things. So keeping quantities low is usually achievable with most people, because you can use it for the gym or for athletic performance and then not take it towards the end of the day. But as far as coffee goes, it's also acrylamide, which is, and we have the mycotoxins, but I mean, there's decaf for that. But even in decaf coffee, they still contain acrylamide, which is a known carcinogen. Years ago in the States, it was banned in some of the big outlets, or not banned. Sorry, they had to put labels on there to say that this coffee contains, a known carcinogen. They won their battle in court because local diners, I think, didn't have to put it on. So the coffee shops are losing out on business because they had to put this label on there. But it's scary, in the same way that we have to with cigarette packets. So, I mean, it is scary that this compound that we think is harmless and we think is just a problem with caffeine, it goes well beyond that. But acrylamide is a compound that is created during like the roasting process, and you can create acrylamide on your meat if you burn it. Like barbecues, for example, can increase acrylamide. So that's why I pan fry my meats, but I pan fry it at a low temperature with a lid on. So it's cooking in its own heat and its own juices, and it's not going too dry and not burning. But there's all of these moving parts, and I think if you were to take on board everything that we say, you would just be living a super strict carnivore lion-based lifestyle, just eating grass-fed beef and lamb, not drinking coffee. Very few people on the planet can sustain that. So a lot of moving parts, and I think you have to implement the ones that work best for you. And coffee or caffeine, as you rightly say, it confers a benefit. It's a known ergogenic aid, and I do use it for competition, and if I really need a kick for a training session. But it's about using these things as tools, isn't it? But understanding that maybe the overconsumption is going to cause downstream deleterious effects. But it's knowledge is power, and I think that's what we're trying to do, isn't it? Throw all of this knowledge out there. And get people to make their own educated decisions.
Interesting. Yeah, Phil, do you have a take on that question? We're pretty close to the end of it now. We can probably do a few more questions if you guys on the panel are still up for it. Otherwise, we can wrap it up there. It's up to you.
Yeah, no, I think Richard's covered everything on that one. I don't have anything else to say on that. But,
okay.
Yeah, I've probably got to leg it quite soon.
Fair. All right. What about you, Ben, and you, Richard? Are you good for a few more minutes, or are you done as well?
I'm just clinging on, to be honest, mate. So I could, I'll stay on as long as everyone else is, but I don't mind if we wrap.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
All right. We'll do a couple more. Quick ones, I think, maybe. once a week man has started weight training, but due to work commitments, he can only train once or sometimes twice a week. Is it still worth doing? Yeah, I think so. I recommend particularly between 1 and 4 sessions per week for anyone. Some people do even less than that. I think if you can get in half an hour of resistance training a week, that's probably more than enough to get probably 80% of the results you can ever get, just assuming you do the main compound sort of movements, whether that be with a barbell, machine, some sort of apparatus. You don't necessarily need to use gym equipment either. It's worth doing. Something is better than nothing. I will say there's a hard limit for me and most people that I work with that 4 sessions per week is as much as I'd recommend anyone to do. Just based on my experience and when I kind of assess people how hard they train, that's kind of about the limit most people can do. But do you guys have a take on that at all?
Yeah, I think that it's like what's his name, Doug McGuff's book, Body by Science, and this is how I always trained back in the day. And I find that if you really, really trash a muscle, and have the bottle to go right into failure, literally 10 minutes a week can do it. I mean, this is very different if you're training for a competition and whatever, and you're already pretty muscular and shaping certain parts of the body, but real heavy compound lifts, you can get them done in no time. It always kind of amuses me when people think that they need to train 6 hours a day every day, and if you're not really experienced and taking a load of gear, that's really not going to work anyway. I remember Stuart McRobert, who is the editor of Hard Gainer magazine. And I was chatting to him. I used to write for that magazine back in the 90s. And I was chatting to him and I was saying, it's really annoying because, I've got a load of steroid boys in my gym and they train all day, every day. And he said, look, I'm totally against all the gear, but see if you can get them onto an abbreviated routine and see what happens plus the steroids. And it was like Dorian Yates used to do. He'd go down the gym and he'd sort of load up a bar with 600 pounds and do a couple of sets of bent over rows and go home and sleep. And he won a load of Olympias and everybody else was overtraining. So steroids, they just allow you to overtrain. And so if you look in the magazines, you get all these sort of steroid. I haven't looked at the magazines for a long time, but I remember the old Joe Weider magazines, Muscle and Fitness and Flex and stuff like that. And you get these ridiculous routines that would go on all day. And it's a whole load more effective if you're, starting out or sort of fairly experienced or whatever, just to do the real compound lifts, or, you can do it at home, like Jonathan says, and just take those muscles to failure and just do it once or twice a week. And see what happens. It's simple for me. It's like when we say, eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, drink when you're thirsty and stop when you're not thirsty. For me, it's like really go for the training, and then at a point where you're not sore anymore and the muscles have finished recovering, hit them again. And that could be 2-3 days. It could be a week. If you're doing a really heavy sort of 20 rep squat routine, you might be out for 10 days and that's okay. Rest and eat, and, muscles don't grow in the gym. They grow when you rest. So hit them hard, rest, and don't worry about not being able to train more than twice a week. You're fine.
So failure for the win then, is what you're saying. Yeah, I think Anthony Chafee gets in the gym about once every 2 weeks, and he's not wasting away yet.
Yeah, I think after a period of time, you just hold on to muscle. Like Richard here doesn't have much time to train. He's not going to wither away. Like he's probably what his body's meant to be at, like right now, outside of like aging and deteriorating illness sort of thing. So it makes sense. It does. The body does hold him.
Yeah, I was running 2 weeks ago. And the runners that I was talking to said that I don't look like a runner, because for a runner, I'm still in a vest. I'm still muscular and ripped and shredded. And to them, I still look like a bodybuilder in a vest. But, to me, I look like a little boy. But your body does preserve muscle. And I agree, 80%, as you said, Jonathan, is achieved through, those 2 sessions a week. But, and yeah, you guys have hit it on the head. I have nothing to add to that other than two times a week is plenty. And if you can do 4, even better. But 2 is considerably better than none.
Nice one. Well, I appreciate everyone's probably quite tired. I know Richard's always running around in the shop, and Phil and Ben have been having a busy weekend. Chatting to people, it's quite draining, socialising and stuff. So I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. If you did leave a question, apologies that we didn't get round to it if we haven't answered it at all. We do go through it chronologically as they appear.
Get your questions in at the start if you want to get them answered. That's the trick.
Yeah, I'm finding, honestly, by about 15-20 minutes into the start of this, so about 7:15, 7:20 p.m. UK time, that's about as far as we get into the questions. So if you do want to get here early, if you can, get the questions in sooner rather than later. Also, as soon as we pump this out onto our channels, onto our stream platforms to put it out, you can put questions in before the live actually starts. That's a good way to get ahead of the game if you're ever interested and want to get something in but you can't watch it,
Yeah, or you get your $100 super chats in. I mean, look at Anthony and Ken when they went on theirs, and they're not even answering anything that's under $100. Come on, guys, we've got the same knowledge. We need $100 super chats.
You get 5 of us as well, plus additional guests. Tremendous value proposition.
No, I'm only messing. You ask your questions, we'll answer them.
Yeah, of course. Excellent. Well, I'm going to wrap that up, guys. So you can follow us on all of our platforms, YouTube channels. All our channels are actually on the screen right now. So me, Carnivore Muscle, Richard is the Keto Pro, Phil Escott is Phil Escott, Ben, affiliated, of course, with Phil Escott at the Big Fat Tribe and Big Fat Challenge, and Coach Stephen Thomas is on his channel. And you saw him on the screen earlier, so that's about it. Anyway, wrap it up there, guys. Cheers and thanks for watching.